Cześć, witajcie. Witam bardzo, ale to bardzo serdecznie. W kolejnym wizycie zagrajmy w Disco Elysium. Witam, o zdróweczko was pytam. Kawka ze mną. No i dobrze. Teraz będzie 19 godzina w świecie gry. I teraz pytanie brzmi... Okej. Psyche plus 4.
Right to work! Right to work!
Oni tutaj nic nie mają do powiedzenia. A, właśnie. Dostałem klucze do śmietnika. Idźmy to zobaczyć. Właśnie to może być to. Dobra, w razie czego zapiszę, żeby tutaj lipy nie było. Ten dalej wisi.
This trash container is locked.
Otwórz kluczem.
Sliding lid with a well-oiled crack. The lock pops open. It should now be possible to simply raise the lid. Don't. Maybe you shouldn't.
Otwórz.
The smell of rotten food rises to greet you. You see soggy cartons, dirty rags, and organic waste.
We're just in time. This hasn't been emptied for over a week.
Spójrz pod kartonowe pudełka.
You see milk and egg rest with one broken egg in it. Some pasta wrapper. Picking up the soggy packages somehow feels familiar. A box falls into pieces in your hands. 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗵𝗁 cereal. There are plastic pasta packages below. And turbo noodles. Nothing of note, however.
W szmatach.
Among the threadbare kitchen towels, something catches your eye. A pair of denim trousers.
Weź je.
As the legs of the slime-covered jeans begin to unspool from the garbage, a rank corpse smell fills the air.
The victim's clothes? Cadaverine odor is faint. If these belong to the deceased, they were removed when he was still in the early stages of decay. Drop them in here, officer.
Włóż.
Guitar-marked blue jeans. Pockets empty or emptied. He wore them with a belt, too. A white belt. The loops appear stretched, but the belt is missing. That's it. Do you see anything else in there?
Something slimy catches your eye.
Sięgnij po to.
A drab, long-sleeved shirt, olive-colored, appears from the food waste, dripping with pus.
Włóż do torby.
This is a military-type overgarment. No label or serial number. This is the kind of rib-knit shirt that's worn over light armor to conceal it in an urban scenario. Anything more?
The rest of the rags are just kitchen variety waste. A yellow old mug that catches your eye. But other than that...
All right. We should go to Gart again and ask if he knows who put the clothes in the trash. It could be as simple as someone from the hostel cleaning the yard. Or that one. I'd advise against confronting that force.
Tak, czas dla dzieciaki.
Fuck's he on about? Kids? You hear that, Kuno? He thinks you're...
See?
The lieutenant nods.
Resztki
Then
jedzenia.
it's just organic waste. Nothing. What's this?
Co?
A blue piece of plastic sticks out from the apple peels.
Wyciągnij go.
Something larger. A clipboard. A blue plastic clipboard with moist papers hanging from it. They look badly damaged, but you can still make out forms and notes.
Officer, is that your paperwork?
Nie, to niemożliwe.
Yes, it is. Look. This plastic has the RCM street grid on it. You've even got an autopsy form. If you don't mind my asking, how could you have let your paperwork end up in the trash?
Chyba nie chciałem być dłużej gliniarzem, dlatego spróbowałem spuścić moje gliniarskie życie w kiblu.
Well,
His eyes express a rare condolence. Then,
lucky we found it. You should take stock of what remains, just to be sure some has not made it into the hands of the RCM's adversaries.
Dobrze, tak zrobię.
Organized crime and the like. It would also not hurt to start taking notes on the case. Now, tell me what your eagle eyes see. Or are we finished?
Some items, such as the ledger you found, are interactable. Go to your inventory.
you pick out a broken mug. Only
Zapytaj.
in its... The container sounds a muffled gong.
That's one thing off the list.
Advanced race theory.
O nie.
Everything is calm in the eye of the race storm. Your mind is lucid and bright. The mind-bending phylogenetics appear more distant and, to be fair, a little ridiculous. The great race mystery has cleared up. All that's left to do is... There are several footprints in the mud, left by work.
Dobra, teraz możemy wrócić do tego naszego chłoptasia ulubionego. Zapytać go, czy on teraz jest podjarany, że ja kumam, o co chodzi, nie? Kumam czacze i tak dalej, nie? Dobra, ale jeżeli chodzi o nasze papiery...
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A pitiful cabbage of white and yellow papers hanging from plastic board, barely held together by
Bo rozumiem.
What more do you need? A rubber condom stuck to the back. A graffito that says defeated. I think you catch the drift. Below the pathetics? Terror. Do not look into its blue heart. An aluminium block runs the width of the board, biting down on the paperwork. Its crocodile teeth are the only thing keeping the papers together. A regular pencil, the tip worn down to nothing, has been attached to the clip. The surface is interrupted by a silvery sticker. It's rectangular, sparkling with iridescence. You don't...
What? That thing. It's a halogen watermark. We use it for adding information to RCM property. Any capable light with the right wavelength will do. All RCM vehicles have headlights designed to reveal halogen watermarks.
This means you can read the watermarks if you just turn the lights on.
Okay.
While a bunch of sodden papers sag, they're not exactly white. They're yellowed in patches by sunlight and alcohol and covered in dense blue handwriting. Ink escapes into watercolor patterns, reaching its tendrils across entire pages. The paper itself is checkered with faint red lines, forming short paragraphs. Once in a while, there's a red stamp that exclaims, "Case files commit to paper." The case files themselves are plenty. You count more than 100 sodden, crumpled up, earmarked pages falling apart in your hands. They appear to be sufficiently organized and extremely dense, if mostly illegible. Work, strife, poverty, the Jamrock Quarter. These are handwritten logs of investigations dating back to January 51, this year. The exact number is hard to estimate due to missing pages and an odd naming convention. But there are at least 20, maybe 30 cases undertaken, not completed, mind you. It's the middle of March. You have attempted 2 cases a week on average.
Czy 2 sprawy na tydzień to duże obłożenie pracą?
Huh? 2 complex cases to undertake is a lot, yes. You really have to push yourself. I would not suggest it, lest you start making mistakes. 2? That's a lot. I didn't mean to say you are making mistakes, by the way. That was presumptuous of me.
Nie wątpię, że popełniłem masę błędów.
It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Kurde, jak ten człowiek jest do rany przyłóż, kurwa. Gdybym miał ranę i miał mieć, kurde, zakażenie i przyłożył kima do tego, to bym kurwa uwyzdrowiał, nie?
God knows I've made my share. He tries not to think of them. Like a fan of girls, the checkered papers dry in your... Yes, it appears you employ a, shall we say, robust yet literary system. Each investigation has its case number written on the margins. Yet, still more tellingly, most are accompanied by a name, a title, one might say even. One that draws inspiration from snoop fiction and vespertine cop show staples. Yes, all caps. One is called The Next World Mural. Another, The Square Bullet Hole Murders. Another yet, The Unsolvable Case. Others appear more light-hearted. The guys on a couch in an unexpected location, and the murder at the 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗃, even the rare article-free collapsing tenement. Murder features prominently throughout. It's going to take an effort to piece these case files together, but it can be done. Once you're done inspecting them up close.
You mean the alphanumeric? Officer, precinct, time of arrival at the scene? Oh, you mean the titular? Yes, well, so do I. In our defense, almost everyone in the RCM does. It's a holdover from the early days of the RCM, right after the revolution, when the organization had little idea how to do things. It persists in an unofficial capacity. Officers use these titles to refer to their work among themselves. Again, in your defense, I seem to have named one the man with the hole in his head. That was a real person. His death was real. Still, I named it that, to amuse myself. I pray his loved ones never find out.
Czym się stało?
Rail spiked through the head. He died. It was a workplace accident.
There is, for precisely one more. 15 pages near the end remain untouched by the damage. The checkered grid forms a structure of passages, breaking the case into subtasks to accomplish. Once all the tasks are accomplished, the case is complete. Sadly, the ledger only comes with an old, worn-down lead pencil. It's unfitting of this monumental event.
Kim, masz może długopis?
The lieutenant looks at his blue notebook. 2 fat, shiny pens. It's downright incriminating. He has little choice but to give you one, although he really does not want. He is not really saying anything, just standing there, looking at them.
Mógłbyś mi dać jeden?
Know that I give this to you with resentment.
The tasks you've completed flow out of the blue oblong pen in a brash freehand, uncannily similar to the rest of the letter.
Mam złą kamerkę, wy nic nie mówicie mi.
It's almost robotically simple, a language developed for mental rigor and simplicity. Inspect the victim's body. Interview the cafeteria manager. It's not exactly poetry, but poetry would be out of place. A satisfying slash sounds across the paper. You're done, it seems to say. Things to be done and things already done. The composition of reality.
No, actually. Any ideas?
Dla furii lustro to dom. Wisielec.
Great. That's great. That's actually what I was thinking too. The Hanged Man. Good, strong name. We have a very good name for the case now. I'm going to start calling it the Hanged Man. It's good we sorted this out.
Wow!
You don't exactly close them, so much as distance yourself from the smelly papers. They're a little further from your nose now. Yes, you can piece them together using the alphanumeric code on the margin. It always begins with HDB41, then date of initialization and time of arrival on the scene. Follow. Why, yes, your precinct number is 41. Every last alphanumeric in the files begins with it. And these are your case files. It's safe to say HDB are your initials.
Już wiemy, że Harry the Boys.
That is improbable. It takes about half an hour to piece. This one is relatively easy to reconstruct. Overnight on 1202, a graffito, nay, a mural, appears on an 8-story tenement overlooking central Jamrock. The building is a sparsely inhabited ghost tower, part of a failed real estate development called Grand Couronne. Cause of failure, rent too high. The mural is enormous. 2 silhouettes, a man and a woman, are kissing. The text cut into their form reads, "True love is possible only in the next world. For new people, it is too late for us. Wreak havoc on the middle class." People call it that thing and that fucking thing. It's visible for miles. In 2 days, the station's complaints desk gets clogged with requests to remove the bummer. You and your partner are assigned to the case. The graffito crew is easy to track down. Only the belles-lettres have the literage of industrial paint to cover the surface. One of the graffito artists is rumored to be rich. They take responsibility for the execution, but not the design. The ideologue of the Next World mural, as the crew calls it, remains an unknown. The case files do not show you finding the author of the design. The crew agrees to clean up after themselves. However, your partner, JV, is against the removal, citing public support for conservation. This leads to a debate in Precinct 41, which then spreads to the streets of Jamrock, ending in a rare plebiscite organized by you and the rest of Row 3. The 9,000 people subjected to the mural's message, all of Lakeside, Central Jamrock, and Villa-Lobos, plus half of the eminent domain, participate in the vote. Although the case begins with what appears to be a lot of rambling on the streets as to how juvenile and stupid the mural is, given a choice between 2 options. A staggering 78% of voters choose to keep it. Turns out the opposition were a loud minority, and that love truly is possible in the next world for new people, and it is too late for us.
Nie ma co winić średniej klasy.
Did anyone ask you what you believe in, man with the smelly toilet ledger? What do you want to tackle next? Or are we done? AKA Leslie and Burke, AKA the public indecency drunk and the property damage drunk, is a cursed case. It has been passed from unsuspecting officer to unsuspecting officer for 10 years. On January 29, the unsolvable case made its way to you. Why you accepted it is unclear. Every officer, and indeed most civilians in Jamrock, know it's unsolvable. Leslie will always take his pants off when he's drunk. Burke will always trash everything. It's just what they do. It is their nature. You cannot change the nature of a man, and you can't lock them away because public indecency and small-scale property damage are not punishable by incarceration. The only way for Leslie to stop displaying his genitals and for Burke to stop attacking things would be for them to stop drinking alcohol, which in their 40s or 50s, it's hard to tell because of their distorted features, is a medical improbability. Threatening fines, dragging them to the station, locking them up in the hell holes they live in, locking them up in the station, hypnotherapy, even trying to get the local gang of 𝗪𝗫𝗍𝗍 to take them out. The 𝗬𝗵𝗂𝗃 gave them ethanol, so Burke and Leslie would expose and rampage even harder. You tried it all, and still the complaints wouldn't stop, as they hadn't stopped for 10 years. It's plain to see from the files that you, Satellite Officer JV, and Special Consultant TH had more important cases to attend to. You uncover cross-reference to several ongoing investigations, each brought to a standstill every time you drive down Main Street. Because there they are, on the corner of Perdition. And what is Leslie doing? No, that's Burke. Leslie's shtick is flashing his genitals, remember? How will you ever solve the unsolvable case if you can't even get that straight? Well, turns out it's pretty simple. The case becomes considerably less comic one day when Burke takes a swing at your ledger. He must have confused it with the property he likes to damage. But the joke's on him. You're also drunk. Drunk out of your mind on potent Pilsner. You slam the hardened plastic board in his face, then proceed to beat him unconscious with it. In the process, the ledger sustains damage. The compartment within, reserved for permeable documents, is jammed shut. You stop your assault on the now unconscious Burke to open it, but are unable to do so. The officer began to cry, reports Leslie, who, at this point, is tending to Burke. He came at us, and at us. I think he was trying to kill 𝗪𝗏𝗀𝗏. While trying to kill 𝗪𝗏𝗏, you slowly come around. The permeables compartment is open. You've smashed it open on poor 𝗪𝗏𝗏's kneecaps. The good news is, Burke can't walk anymore. Can't get out of his apartment, an invalid. With Burke to tend to, Leslie cuts back on the indecent exposure. Maybe he flashes his genitals to Burke, who knows, but both drunks are off the street. The complaints stop. The unsolvable case is solved. Which is also why the officer responsible narrowly escapes a disciplinary hearing. The end. Do you want to read another one?
Dawaj, lecimy.
It would be very interesting to read about these, wouldn't it? I mean, there seems to be a square-shaped entry wound in the victim's forehead. She's been sitting there for weeks, on her rocking chair, with a square hole in her skull, staring at the wall, her mouth agape. That's all you got. From the half hour you spent piecing it together, all you know is the entry wound was square-shaped. You never found the bullet. And then another body showed up, also with a square hole in his forehead. Who knows? Those pages are missing. What next?
Aj, szkoda.
One day.
Ej.
One day you may still catch the man with the square gun.
Ej. Kurde. To było mega ciekawe.
Some assholes brought their couch outside and hung out on it. In the middle of the street, on the roof, on the hillside by the motorway. You know, at an unexpected location. They were young, and they thought they looked cool on it. Yes, as you said here, insufferable rock and roll assholes. Young people are the worst. So anyway, you got a complaint about the damn sofa, or couch, or whatever it was. They were leaving it out in all these unexpected and whimsical locations. They took it to
Jesus,
where
grubo.
they also took photos of themselves on it, and smoked cigarettes, and drank coffee because they felt it's intellectual. Cigarette butts, coffee cups, stupid couch. You had to clean it all up, and you did. So congratulations to you. Case solved. No, you didn't have time for that. These notes show that you have what is called a real goddamn job. You don't have time to be chasing down the couch assholes. You have a real job to do. What next? Murder. Tum 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 at the hookah parlor. was a case originally assigned to an officer called Joseph Mills, who is now dead, of circumstances completely unconnected to murder at the hookah parlor.
Okej, ale zginął?
Beaten to death by a throng of Ვილ𝗨𝗪𝗏 gang members when him and his partner JM, only initials mentioned, answered a call one night. It's a sad story, and it isn't really represented in your case files. Stop stalling and get to the murder at the hookah parlor.
Dobra.
Joseph Mills was on this case that he just couldn't solve, was doing it solo, said it was a real nutcracker, a real brain twister, was on it for, like, a month. The captain got impatient. Shit or get off the pot, Mills. Mills didn't get off the pot. Not yet. He kept at it for a couple of weeks more, racking his brains, running with every theory, as outlandish as they seemed. Still couldn't solve the murder at the hookah parlor. Tough case, he said. Toughest he's ever had.
Czy Joseph Mills był dobrym gliną?
No, he was awful. Awful sense of humor, too. The worst jokes you've ever heard. Really rapey. Still,
Ajajaj.
he'd been on it for months now. Said it was the final case. Said it was uncrackable. That murderer had vanished into thin air. That goddamn hookah parlor was all he talked about. Okay, so the case is handed to you because Mills isn't getting anywhere, and you look into it. Here's the setup. A young man is found dead in a hookah parlor. You know, those places where you go and smoke bubblegum-flavored vapor all day.
Głupota.
Yeah. So anyway, young man in his 20s found with his skull busted open, right on the floor of the hookah parlor, in the middle of the day. No one else is in there. Only client that day. In perfect health, too. Some kind of movie producer. No one enters. No one exits. He's just sucking on his watermelon hookah all morning, all noon, like he usually does. He's a regular. No calls, nothing. Just sucking on the hookah until 15:45. Then bam, he's dead on the floor with his skull busted open, blood everywhere. What happened? How can it be? Mills has no idea. Invisible assassin, movie deal gone sour. Girl at the counter did it. Nothing fits. Eerie. Man just dropped dead. So you go to the parlor. You see cushions around the table. Table's low, heavy, really sharp edge. See? You can't even read the thing without solving it. Yeah, it was that. Turns out hookah does do something. It turns off your brain's oxygen supply, and you don't notice it until you get up to go to the bathroom.
A co on tam robi przez 6 godzin?
Smoking hookah. Didn't you hear? I don't know. Trying to come up with a movie script, maybe. Anyway, that was murder at the hookah parlor. Joseph Mills wasn't a good detective, and about 30 minutes has passed, piecing it together. Next. Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of sodden papers still sags from the clipboard. It takes about half an hour to...
Okej, to jest już z głowy.
In the back, you see thin, translucent copy of paper. Some neon yellow, some bright red, all covered in boxes, like marching armies. These look like official forms, waiting to be filled out. Then rip them from the binder and hand them out, according to type of form. 3. The topmost are misconduct fines, the middle ones are station calls, and the bottommost are field autopsy forms. Each is easy enough to make sense of. You don't have to be an intellectual giant to do police work. A monetary penalization ranging from 20 to 250 rial. Severe cases allow for 1,000 rial, but that requires special paperwork. The details of issuing these fines are spread out over the rest of the fields, but they appear pleasantly vague. These are quite sinister in turn. They give a date and time for the person to appear at the specified precinct police station. Below the call are the criminal charges you risk by not appearing. A dozen pages of thin copy paper, bright red in color, You see the parameters of a deceased human form waiting to be filled in. Age, sex, condition of internal organs. Yes, all that remains now is to fill those forms and hand them to people. Fines for wrongdoers, interview requests for bad guys. The rest of the stinking cellulose is much worse for wear. Being sandwiched between the board and the rest of the paperwork must have spared the fragile copy of paper. It's made of dark blue plastic, hard enough to beat someone to submission with. The edges are rounded, however. The U4 size board feels thick and heavy in your hand. Light shimmers on its wet surface. On the back you see the embossed letters, RCM. Blue. The blue heart. Don't look into it. Something rattles inside, ever so lightly. Is there a hidden compartment? Permeables. It's not hidden per se. The compartment is made for permeable materials that would get damaged if something happened to it. The plastic shimmers like lapis lazuli, but it is not see-through. You cannot see to its center. With your hands, U4-sized pages hang from the clip, screwed to the top of the...
Dobra, zapiszę i spróbuję to otworzyć. Spróbuję otworzyć. Retoryka, dramaturgia, retorykę bym może zwiększył. Myślę, że pójdziemy w retorykę.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A cabbage of papers hanging from the board is
No,
not...
tego się obawiałem właśnie. No kurwa, no to jest prosty test.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A cabbage of papers hanging...
Jest.
The two sides of the board appear slightly misaligned, like a drawer that's come off its slides. If you bend the plastic on your knee, slowly, the slides snap back into place. It should be possible to just, without resistance or sound, the two panels move against each other. The compartment is now open. 2 ticket stubs and a handmade postcard. 2 octopuses are smiling, reaching their tentacles toward each other in the colored pencil drawings. The tickets permit access to the zoo in Revachol East. The aquarium costs extra. These let you go there, too. Thin wax paper has been glued to a piece of cardboard. Sounds like leaves rustling when you pick it up. It smells of chewing gum, apricot flavored. A touch of cinnamon, the end of summer. You think the label says tutti frutti. Familiar handwriting lines the inside of the card. Looped, round letters in a woman's hand.
O nie.
A young woman in her 20s. There is care, effort, and a smile, you think. Although that is not something you can read from someone's handwriting. Harry, it begins. You're already reading. I wanted to write you a letter so you can read it when you wake up. Maybe it will make you happy. Throw it away, please.
Czytaj dalej.
Your hand shakes holding the card. Every morning when I step out and you're asleep behind me, it says, I find a little piece of sadness in me. I carry it in my chest, down Voyager Road. Every step I take, it grows. By the time I reach the fuel station, it has filled me entirely. I step onto the light rail and look back. Sparks fall from the bow collector. I know it will be like this until late afternoon, when I get off the 42 and walk back to you. You. Every step I take will get lighter. It almost makes me run. Sometimes I do. I can't believe I met you. I can't believe the happiness I feel with you. You have a vast, vast soul, and I will always, always, always come back to it. Kisses, kisses, kisses. You feel the air sucked out of your lungs and the blood sucked out of your head. Everything around you gets dark. Small white dots appear. You feel the ledger slip from your hand.
There is nothing.
Kurwa. Jezu, jak się wzruszyłem, masakra. Jak to było kochane, po prostu to było tak piękne. Ale tak się bałem, bo te uczucia były tak silne i jakby poczułem smutek głęboki, bo czułem, że ta osoba cierpi, że nie ma nas wokół i że chce, żebyśmy byli obok, a jednocześnie nie chce obok nas być. Nie wiem, mam takie... Jezu, to jest trudne.
We should think about calling it today, maybe. The nights are still miserably cold this time of year. You should take care of that, then. Let's talk to him anyway. An officer of the RCM shouldn't be sleeping in the streets. We'll figure something out.
Though he finds this situation frustrating, he is doing his best to not make you feel.
Kurde. To było trudne. Dobrze. Ale to będzie wszystko na ten odcinek. Serdecznie dziękuję za oglądanie. Mam nadzieję, że wam się spodobało. Do usłyszenia. Siemanko. No i cześć. Dziękuję bardzo za oglądanie mojego materiału. Mam nadzieję, że wam się podobało. Jeżeli wam się spodobało, pamiętajcie, żeby kliknąć kciuk w górę, zasubskrybować i kliknąć dzwoneczek. Wszystko, aby zawsze być na bieżąco. Jeżeli macie coś do napisania, napiszcie komentarz, dzięki temu będę wiedział, że jesteście, że wam się podoba i przede wszystkim, że chcecie, żeby tych materiałów pojawiało się więcej. Dodatkowo, jeżeli chcecie się wdzięczyć za to, co robię i podoba wam się moja praca, pamiętajcie, że możecie kliknąć w moją nazwę, wejdziecie do strony głównej mojego kanału, kliknąć opcję wesprzyj i za 2 zł, 10 albo 30 zostaniesz wspierającymi według waszej tutaj chęci i potrzeby oddania trochę tej dobroci w moją stronę. Dziękuję bardzo za oglądanie, trzymajcie się, do usłyszenia i życzę wam miłego. Bardzo serdecznie dziękuję wszelkim wspierającym za to, że jesteście. Dziękuję tym, którzy byliście wspierającymi i dziękuję wszystkim tym, którzy po tym właśnie filmiku zdecydowaliście się na wsparcie. Przede wszystkim to nie jest tak, że wspieracie osobę, która ma tysiące widzów. Wspieracie małą społeczność, której dzięki każdej osobie z was, każdej złotówce, którą mi przelejecie, każdym 2 złotym, które jesteście wspierającymi ptasiakami, za każdą tą jedną osobę bardzo serdecznie dziękuję i za każdą tą złotówkę dziękuję, ponieważ dzięki temu po prostu mam chęci, mam motywację i przede wszystkim mam dodatkowe finanse, które pozwalają utrzymać ten kanał i utrzymać wszystko, co się wokół niego dzieje, włącznie z kosztami prądu, kosztami kupowania nowego sprzętu, kupowania nowych gier i w ogóle całego czasu, które spędzam, czy to nagrywając, czy to streamując i czy to, jeżeli w przypadku wielu sytuacji rozmawiając i wspierając osoby, które w jakiś sposób czują się gorzej. Więc moja działalność jest bardzo szeroka i cieszę się, że doceniacie ją. Jeżeli ktoś z was czuje się gorzej i chciałby ze mną porozmawiać i ma jakieś takie problemy, możecie do mnie napisać, zagadać. Wszystko na Discordzie, a link do Discorda w opisie.